Alright, in front of you, you see the ASUS Republic of Gamers Pugio optical gaming mouse. I received this in the mail from Mr. Steven Lin of ASUS. He's the product manager of ASUS. And I just got it randomly in the mail as a gift. I've reached out to him for further information as to why I got this. I don't remember entering any contests, but it came for free. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. The ASUS ROG Pugio mouse is a high-end gaming mouse. It costs about $90 on Amazon as of the time of the filming of this video. And I will put a link in the description below to the Amazon page where you can buy it if you wish. It is a corded USB gaming mouse, and it has a 7200 DPI optical sensor, so pretty high-end optical sensor. It has a 1 gigahertz polling rate, which means that it is polling the sensor and the buttons 1,000 times a second. It is supposed to be truly ambidextrous, and it has what has been, a major issue for mice for years, is the switches. Switches go bad in mice, and then the whole mouse is bad because you've got one button that won't work. Well, with the Republic of Gamers Pugio, ASUS seems to be on track to fixing that, as they claim that all of the buttons are replaceable. Also, the side buttons are swappable from one side to the other. So if you're lefty, you can put your side buttons on the right hand side of your mouse, and that's part of the ambidextrous features of this mouse. So when you get it, this is the box that it comes in. Decent packaging for ASUS. Of course, it's kind of flat in here. Sometimes they have things at more of an angle, but decent packaging overall. Tells you a little bit about it on the back here. It does have RGB illumination both in the ROG logo as well as around the scroll wheel and on the sides. So let's go ahead and get it open. Alright, so we have some literature and looks like a sticker or an emblem, maybe. Yeah, it's an adhesive ROG emblem. It's 3M, and it appears to be metal, which is nice. Of course, we've got our literature that's going to tell us all about it. The mouse is in a double clamshell. And it looks like a decently long cord with gold-plated USB 2.0 connectors. And it's a very simple looking design. I can see we've got buttons on both sides right now. There's supposed to be a way to block off buttons on one side or the other, and I'm assuming that's probably in this bag. So, interesting little mesh bag. And a little case with the ROG logo. And inside of the case, we have two switches and two covers, and it looks like the covers are to cover up the side buttons, which are there. We have 4 side buttons. We have a switch here for changing the mouse speed or sensitivity. It's just a push switch, push button switch, and we've got our scroll wheel, obviously. So it's very clean, modern looking mouse. And let's plug it into a laptop and see what happens. Alright, I'm back, and I've gone ahead and installed the ROG Armory Software, which is the software for this mouse and I believe some of their other peripherals. There's a lot you can do with this mouse. You can set up macros, you can change DPI settings, you can change polling rates, you can change button response times in milliseconds, and that's all through the ROG Armory. I did go ahead and remove the button covers on the side here with this cover that keeps you from pushing the buttons. You can see the two magnets in there, and these are separate, but once you have the button cover or eliminator, I guess, on there, you can't hit those buttons. So that's great. I still have these ones on the left, but the ones on the right were getting in my way a little bit because I am a right-handed user and I was bumping the front button. You can see on this side I still have two pieces. So I have a front button and a rear button, but on this side it's the eliminator. And you can see here that we have the two buttons from the right side and we have the eliminator on the left. And these switches that come from ASUS are Japanese Omron switches, which are pretty high-end switches. If you do install them, you have to make sure that the little button there goes towards the front. And with a little bit of digging into the literature that comes here with the mouse, I have found that you do need to disassemble the mouse to replace those switches, and they are only for the main two buttons, the left click and right click. And to replace them, you take out, there are 4 rubber plugs here. There's 3 feet, one wide one back here, and then 2 up at the front. But to replace the buttons, you take out these 4 rubber plugs. There'll be screws underneath there. You then lift up the back, pull it away, and there will be a connector in there for the DPI LED. Now you can see the LEDs around the scroll wheel on the ROG logo and around the sides as well. There is also a white LED there for the DPI, and interestingly enough, it makes a sideways smiley when it's on. Kind of interesting to look at. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and shut the studio lights off here, and you guys can see kind of the color settings or the lighting settings that are available with this mouse. So this is static, and I have it set to green right now. But if we go into the ROG Armory and go to lighting, we can go to breathing. And if we go to breathing, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. It's going to breathe in and out. We can go to color cycle, which is going to be what you expect. It's going to cycle through all the RGB colors that it has. There is no white as far as I can tell, but the rest of the colors are there. And then we have reactive. Reactive is interesting. It only works when you push a button, and it will light up just briefly and then slowly fade away. Then we have wave. And wave is going through all of the colors around, and it does it pretty fast. There is a firmware fix that is supposed to be for this wave functionality. I believe it's supposed to slow the wave down so that it's not cycling through the colors as quickly as it is now that you see. But when I ran the firmware update, it didn't change. This is how it was out of the box when I ran wave, and this is how it is after the firmware update. The last one we have is Comet, and Comet is actually really neat if you want to show off your rig, because it's just gonna throw a little run around the RGB LEDs of whatever color you have it set to. In this case, it's the default red. And it's kind of cool if you have your, if you have your motherboard set up to do something like this, and if you have a RGB illuminated graphics card set up to do this as well, then it can be a pretty interesting look. You know, you can also do this with a lot of keyboards. So if you have your keyboard and your mouse and your motherboard and everything set up to do kind of this Comet effect or the wave effect or you know, any of the breathing effects, you can kind of sync them all up. There is a way in the Armory software to sync with other devices as well, so you can run it that way. You can set up macros as well, and in the performance section you can change the DPI settings for when the light is on versus when it's off. So you saw there the light came on and the light goes off. I'm going to change the lighting back to static here so that you can see a little better. So going on and off with that DPI light. We can also change the polling rate. It is set to 500 megahertz from the factory, but we can bump it up to 1 gigahertz. We can change button response time from 4 milliseconds to 32 milliseconds, which could be the difference between, you know, winning and losing, or living and dying in some games. And we can also set acceleration and deceleration as well as angle snapping. So those are all options that should be there, and I'm glad to see that ASUS has included them, because not all manufacturers include all of those options in their mice. I'm going to go ahead and turn the studio lights back on. And overall, this is a great mouse so far. It does have a 7-foot long braided cable, so that's great if your computer is a little further away and you normally would use a wireless mouse, as I've been doing for years, just due to the length of most gaming mouse cables. So with a 7-foot cable, I shouldn't have any problems with my main rig, and I'm going to go ahead and use it for some gaming. I hope you guys found this video to be informative. If you liked it, please hit the like button. Think about subscribing to the channel for more content. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video.